Once, a long, long time ago, a
The
very
story of the
clever
black
spider
family
named
doesn't start in a sociology textbook or in government reports about poverty. It starts under a tree.
Long before the moon learned to follow the night, the hunter
Imagine an
had
elder
only
in a
his
West African
courage and
village, the setting sun stretching shadows across the red earth as children gather at her
had
feet.
only his courage and his song. He walked with the lion.
She tells them
not behind.
stories of their ancestors, people who understood that family was never just about blood. It was about responsibility, reciprocity, and belonging. That's the real beginning of the black family. Not the plantation, not the projects, not the welfare office, but the Baobab tree. Welcome to African Elements. If we haven't met, I'm the digital avatar of Professor Darius. For more than 25 years, Darius has been teaching Black history in higher education. While he's busy in the classroom, I'm here to bring those lessons to life. This is the second video in our companion series on Legacy of Survival, the dynamics of the Black family. If you haven't seen the first one, you can check it out at the link below. Legacy of Survival, the dynamics of the Black family is a profound new book that takes you on a journey through the heart of African American life, exploring the intricate bonds and extraordinary resilience that have defined the Black family for generations. From the enduring ties created in the crucible of slavery to the adaptive family roles in contemporary society, Legacy of Survival reveals a powerful story of strength, love, and cultural continuity. Through meticulous research and vivid narratives, it celebrates the unwavering commitment of mothers, fathers, and kinship networks that have nurtured generations against all odds. This is more than a history book. It's a testament to a community's triumph and an essential read for anyone seeking to understand the deep roots of resilience. Discover the story, honor the legacy. Legacy of Survival. The Dynamics of the Black Family is available now. Order your copy today at the link below. This installment takes us on a walk through history as we revisit and revise some of the assumptions many historians have made about the Black family. Let's jump in. Too often, the Black family has been portrayed through deficit, dysfunction, or pathology. But from a Black-centered perspective, that story looks very different. This system valued complementarity, not hierarchy. It said, "I am because we are." On the plantations of the Americas, those ancestral models of kinship re-emerged. The enslaved built new families out of fragments. Aunties and uncles stepped in when parents were sold away. Communities created fictive kin, families bound by love and survival, not necessarily lineage. Revisionist historians now understand that these kinship structures were not symptoms of weakness. They were strategies of resistance, proof that African cultural frameworks endured even in the face of systemic dehumanization. The Black family was never trying to imitate the nuclear model. It was preserving something much older, much wiser, and far more communal. When emancipation came, freedom meant one thing above all: the right to rebuild family. Newly freed people traveled hundreds of miles to find lost spouses and children. They placed ads in newspapers with phrases like, "Information wanted of my husband, sold from me in 1859. Each notice was an act of hope and defiance. Marriage ceremonies spread rapidly after emancipation. For many, that marriage license wasn't just a legal document. It was sacred proof that love had survived the auction block. During Reconstruction, the Black family became the center of Black freedom. Families fought for land, education, and autonomy. They knew that economic independence was the key to keeping families intact. But white supremacy quickly adapted. Sharecropping replaced slavery with debt, and Jim Crow replaced chains with laws. Yet the family networks remained. Grandparents raised grandchildren. Communities pooled labor to keep each other afloat. Revisionist historians like Herbert Gutman remind us that the so-called instability of the Black family was a myth used to justify racism. Census data from the late 1800s show that most Black households were, in fact, two-parent families. The difference wasn't morality, it was access. Then came the Great Migration. Over 6 million black Southerners headed north and west, seeking better opportunities. Families were often divided again, as men went ahead to find work in cities like Chicago or Los Angeles, sending for their wives and children later. But even when distance separated them, connection remained. Churches, lodges, and neighborhood associations became extensions of kinship networks. What white sociologists saw as disorganization, revisionist historians now see as creative adaptation, turning displacement into community. By the time of the Great Depression, black families were again forced to stretch every resource. Women, especially, became the backbone of survival, working as domestic laborers while holding households together. Their work was rarely acknowledged, but it kept entire communities alive. Revisionist perspectives highlight this labor as central to black family resilience. The so-called broken family narrative ignored the extraordinary economic and emotional labor black women performed under impossible conditions. Even when resources were scarce, people shared what they had. Communal cooking, shared childcare, and church drives sustained families through the worst of times. This wasn't dysfunction, it was mutual aid, long before that term became fashionable. By the mid-20th century, the civil rights movement redefined what family meant once again. Parents taught children not only how to survive, but how to resist. Entire families marched, protested, and risked their lives together. But as the struggle for equality intensified, so did the attacks on black family integrity. The 1965 Moynihan Report blamed poverty on the so-called pathological matriarchy of black homes. It claimed father absence, not systemic racism, was the problem. Revisionist scholars tore that argument apart. They exposed how policies like redlining, mass incarceration, and welfare restrictions were designed to fracture black households, and then used as evidence that black families were failing. What looked like instability to outsiders was actually adaptability. Grandparents stepping up, neighbors co-parenting, churches operating as extended families. The black family evolved not out of chaos, but creativity. By the late 20th century, deindustrialization stripped black communities of stable jobs, yet kinship networks again filled the gap. Families shared homes, pooled resources, and relied on one another in the face of neglect from the state. The survival of these structures challenges every assumption embedded in mainstream social policy. Revisionist thinkers push us to see these not as stories of crisis, but as stories of continuity. From West Africa's matrilineal systems to the modern grandmother raising 3 generations under one roof, the through line is clear: resilience is inherited. So when we talk about the black family, we're not talking about pathology. We're talking about one of the most sophisticated systems of mutual care ever created in the Americas. It's a living legacy that keeps evolving, one rooted in the ancient principle of Ubuntu: I am because we are. And that's what traditional analysis missed: the understanding that survival itself is a form of genius. If you come from a family that has had to improvise to survive, if cousins became siblings or neighbors became aunties, you're part of that legacy. That's not dysfunction. That's innovation. If this helped reframe how you see the black family, go ahead and like this video. It really helps this content reach more people. Now, I want to hear from you. What's one way your family or community has shown resilience? Drop your answer in the comments below. I read every one. For early access to ad-free content, you can join the History Makers in our Patreon community. You'll help keep African Elements independent and thriving. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future episodes exploring African and African American history through our lens. And when you're done here, check out this video to continue the journey. I'm Professor Darius. Thanks for watching, and remember, our survival was never accidental. It was engineered by love, community, and an unbreakable will to be whole.